The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised.
Oh, I see how it is. When Dustin comes to town, he could get in and out, but when I come to town, you're like, no, that's tourist food.
I didn't say I wanted in and out. We just got it.
Kyle wouldn't let me go to In and Out. He refused to let us go.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. My name is JD, and with me is my ginger friend, Kyle.
It's me.
I like that I only ever classify you as a ginger. Like, there's no other defining qualities for you.
Yeah.
As told by Ginger.
Hey, Ginger. Matt's also here.
It's also me.
Yeah. And holy crap, what's this? Dustin's here.
What? Where? Haha, just kidding. I know you're actually talking about me. Hello there, everybody.
Yeah, Kyle and Dustin are in the same room right now.
Yeah.
And Kyle and Dustin are in the same state.
Yeah, we had a reunion yesterday at Disneyland, but...
Yeah, so I want to say I'm disappointed in all three of you now that you're all here. Because where was my invite to Disney World, huh? I mean, I know I'm on the opposite side of the country than all three of you right now, and I have no way of getting to California at all, but, you know, an invite would have been nice.
We're the assholes.
You have a way, you just needed money.
It's true. Money is my inhibitor for most things in life. Anyway, so we are all gathered here today to talk about the myth of Santa.
Why'd you make it sound like it was a funeral?
What do you mean?
Well, he's dead.
Oh, yeah. Oh, spoilers.
Yes. We are going to be talking about the Netflix movie Klaus, which I'm sure most of the internet has been following since they announced this back in 2015.
Can't believe they made a movie all about the character from American Dad.
Yes,
He really
D. Bradley Baker finally got his starring role.
It took a while, but he finally got it.
He got there. He had to prove that he deserved it first. But yes, Klaus is finally out. I can dare say it was a damn fine movie. I immensely enjoyed it. Mostly from an animation standpoint. The story it's good. I liked it.
It's serviceable.
But I think what most people are going to take away...
It's not the star of the show.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I think what most people are going to take away from this is this movie is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
What did everyone else think about this?
Well, me and Dustin were saying it was like a mix between Warner Brothers animation and Disney animation.
It's like a perfect in-between.
It's like
I can see that.
It's the beauty of Disney and stuff like that with the cartooniness of Warner Brothers, like Cats Don't Dance and those kinds of movies.
Mm-hmm.
It has a very stylized, fun look to it. There's really not a whole lot of movies like that out there.
No, not nowadays. I kind of had the same thought, but I wasn't thinking Warner Brothers. I was thinking like Disney and like back when DreamWorks was doing traditional animation. Like I kind of got that vibe from it. Like we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, but this movie like is like a lost movie from like that whole Disney Renaissance from like the 90s, early 2000s, where like it just fits right in with that sort of style of movie. Like, and we were even saying like the main characters, Klaus and Jesper, have real big Cusco and Pacha vibes to them.
The movie really did.
Emperor's New Groove.
The movie really did feel like Emperor's New Groove because you have the spoiled kid and then you have the kind of the straight man kind of thing. It really did have that vibe.
One is small, skinny, and lanky, and the other's a big man.
And the voices they had picked out from were sort of the same vibe too. Jason Schwartzman's like the David Spade, and then J.K. Simmons is like the John Goodman. Like it all fits pretty well.
I just want to say I love that J.K. Simmons has not let having an Oscar go to his head that he still does shit like this.
Like the yellow M&M.
He still does the yellow M&M. He still does the State Farm commercials. So
yeah. Hey,
I love him.
You got to pay your rent, man.
He a good guy.
That's cool.
But But yeah, this movie has been in development for 4 or 5 years now.
They announced it in 2015, like right, I think in the same month, if not in the same release that they were announcing they were doing production of Green Eggs and Ham, which is another like awesome animated thing that Netflix just put out. Like,
I think the moral of the story is let people have time to work on good stuff, and it'll be amazing.
I know we covered it on our like first news podcast.
Yeah, we talked about this way back in the day. So
They
I
had
mean,
they had like a teaser trailer for it when it was announced, right?
yeah, it was weird because Jesper was British back then. It was
Yeah.
just like some scratch audio they used for him.
that was back when they're trying to find funding for it. I think that was just kind of like a little test thing.
Yeah, it was something to get people interested.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think a year later or something, Netflix would basically backed him up and said, all right, we're acquiring the rights for this thing. Here's a bunch of money. Finish it when you can, and we'll put it out.
So, have you guys seen any advertisements for this movie other than animation sites?
Not really.
I think maybe on Twitter, but other than that.
One thing I thought was pretty interesting is if you buy a box of Cheez-Its or something, they're actually advertising it. Watch this on Netflix.
I think that's interesting since I don't see a whole lot of advertisements for anything on Netflix, like Netflix originals. This is like
unless it's like Stranger Things, but
yeah, that's true.
Unless it's like a huge thing,
like one of the big ones that break the mainstream for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I'm usually not for like cross integration with like other products like that, but if it gets more eyes on this, then I guess I'm for it.
I was one of those people that I hadn't been following the production of this. Like I literally hadn't probably no idea. Like maybe I heard about it when it got announced back in the day, but as far as like when they were making the push, like when the movie was finally finished, they put out the trailer and all that. Like I hadn't watched anything about any of that. The only thing I had seen was on Twitter there was like a progression shot of like a scene with Jesper where it's like him opening the door and it shows like from the storyboards to like the line work to the colors to the shadows to like the whole touched up product, and that was the only thing I'd seen, and it looked like really impressive. But then other than that, I hadn't seen the trailer. The only thing I'd seen was a clip on I watched the movie today, but it was like a couple days ago. I went to go add it to my list to make sure I didn't forget to watch it. And they do that thing on Netflix where if you like hover over a thumbnail, like it plays a scene from the movie, and it plays that scene in the movie where like he's talking to like the mean kid, saying like if you're mean, you get a piece of coal and not a present, blah blah blah. And they do that thing where they have like that little hip hop beat that goes over since that was my only exposure to the actual movie, I was just like, oh man, is the movie gonna be full of this? Like I was kind of disheartened, and then like actually watching the movie, I'm like, oh thank God, that's like just a weird isolated instance of that happening.
I do feel like there's a few instances in this movie that like almost are like remnants of like the early 2000s, and I feel like that instance feels kind of like that. And Matt and I were talking before we recorded here that when we were saying like, oh, this movie kind of feels like a lost early 2000s movie. It really hit me when Jesper and Klaus had their little tiff, and it starts playing that like ballady pop song, and like for whatever reason at that moment it's like this just sounds like something that would have played in an early 2000s animated film, and now it's playing here. So it even more so emphasized like this could have been put out in like 2002, and I think it would have fit just as well.
But the technology wouldn't have been there to make it look
exactly.
so good.
I think the animation, like the character animation, would have been just as good because Sergio Pablos, who's the creator, director, whatever of this,
he's the executive producer. Well, he's
This
Yeah,
is his baby. This is his baby.
He's the director, and he came up with the story. But that was the thing too. Yeah, he's worked on like classic Disney stuff. He did character design and actual animation work on. It was Goofy Movie, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Tarzan, and Treasure Planet.
So it's.
I
really
definitely see Treasure Planet.
I said the same thing too.
So
Dr. Doppler like is exactly the same.
So I didn't know that he worked on Goofy Movie, but now that you say that, it makes complete sense because I don't know if anyone else caught it. But on the Crumb side, the big, because each side has like their giant child or whatever.
Yeah.
The one on the Crumb side, every time he does a weird smile, he looks like Bigfoot from the Goofy Movie.
Yeah, he does. It was the rounded teeth that did that.
Yeah, because he has like that weird like rounded monkey lip or something, and the teeth. So it just reminded me of that. And then you're right, like Jesper has a lot of Dr. Doppler in him, and that's really where I know Sergio's from, because like I always really loved watching Treasure Planet, and I loved how Doppler moved and how he like his mouth movements and all that, and like to know that like, oh, it's because of this one animator, that's why he is.
It was funny that you brought up Bigfoot because that was one of the other the two other credits that I saw where he created the story for that movie that came out recently, Smallfoot.
Mm-hmm.
He did that, but then also the larger claim to fame was he came up with the story and executive produced the first Despicable Me.
So Sergio Pablos is
Minions.
responsible for Minions. Thank you.
Yeah. But he created a freaking like $1 billion franchise, so good for him.
He sure did. I wonder if he gets royalties for that. Maybe that's how he funded this movie. So when they came out with this project, really all that was drawing me in was the animation, because basically them saying, oh, we're doing a movie about the Santa myth, and I'm like, all right, that's kind of been done to death, but all right, the animation is gorgeous, so I'll check it out. I could probably say this is one of my more favorite interpretations of it. I think it's. Go ahead.
That was my big worry, was you're gonna do a movie that looks this good and animated this well, character design, all this stuff, and then I felt like they were gonna just squander it on a Christmas movie, and that really worried me. But the first, I want to say like more than half the movie didn't even have a Christmas vibe to it, and I really liked that.
Yeah, they don't even bring up the word Christmas until about maybe a little over halfway through the movie. And even
there was
then,
no Christmas to be had yet. There's no references to even be made.
Right. And yeah, because they don't have like the Santa Christmas. They probably have Jesus Christmas, but because Jesper brings up Christmas like it's a thing.
I don't know that the Ellingbows or the Crumbs had Jesus in their lives the way that they lived.
They're a village of atheists. Yeah. They've got too much hate in their heart to believe in Jesus.
I was not expecting the whole like Hatfield McCoy thing.
I was going to say that is like, yeah, it's totally a Hatfield McCoy thing.
Well, the character design with all the people and stuff, it really reminded me of Corpse Bride. Just how everybody.
I kind of got that vibe.
Yeah, a little bit.
One of the characters the two characters that I really loved was Norm Macdonald's character.
He was great.
I love the boat
captain.
man.
No, he's great.
He's such an asshole.
He was so great.
Just like Norm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anybody else that could voice that guy. That would be so great. Just asshole.
The perfect fit.
I loved his design, and I really loved the daughter's design. Just how big and menacing she was.
Yeah.
It was so great. I just loved that. What's up?
I was going to say, I mean, it's like every character, no matter like adult or child, like has such a vastly different design. Like I don't feel like there's any two designs that look like too similar. So like I don't know if Sergio was solely responsible for character design, but like just every character has a really strong design in this. Just makes everybody stand out.
I don't know if it's a controversial claim to make, but I think that it's probably the best looking animated movie ever made.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
Like,
I don't know if I'd go so far as ever made, but I would definitely say this year.
I think it just blows everything. I think the only thing else that comes close is like Spider-Verse last year was really cool and innovative, but I think this one
Maybe in a very different way though, because that movie was very stylized and like how it presented information, whereas this one is just from a traditionally animated standpoint and just like how they render everything. Like it's really there's really no point in comparing them because they're not even the same type of movie. They're not even animated the same way. It's like, but they're both very good. But like for this particular way that they did Klaus, like it is the prime example of like what you can accomplish.
And it's really strange because just the way they decided to like do the coloring and lighting and all of this, there's a lot of shots where like the characters look like they're in 3D, but like it's all hand done.
Yeah.
And just like in this day and age to have a completely hand-drawn animated film come out to this quality is like just like unheard of.
We've been waiting for that since that Paperman short.
Yeah.
More or less, yeah. Which I still wish Disney would do something more with that because that was a really cool effect, and I wish they would do more.
They've been talking about it since what's his dick left?
Lassiter?
Yeah,
Mr. Huggy Boy.
Bad hug.
But they said they've been talking about getting back into traditional animation, so I'm kind of interested in seeing what they're gonna do because right now it feels like they're in a rut of sequels and shit.
Yeah. When I say I think Klaus is probably the best looking movie ever made, I think it's just like it's kind of more just a personal thing because like Spider-Verse looks great, like it's amazing looking, but Klaus is closer to like my personal preference, like the way the characters look and everything. Like I always thought I like seeing more cartoony designs with big budget theatrical style animation, but I think the only movies like that are the SpongeBob movies where you can get like really cartoony on the big screen with a high budget. And this is like, I know this isn't on the big screen, but still.
I think it had a limited just to qualify for the Oscars and stuff.
Yeah, it had a limited release last
I would
week.
love if it would have done a wider release. I would love to have seen this on a big screen.
Oh, for sure. And I almost wonder if Netflix would be willing to do another like theatrical run closer to Christmas. Obviously,
if this has like a Blu-ray release, I'm definitely gonna buy it.
Definitely,
for sure. If anything, I really want to see more behind the scenes stuff of this. Like we've seen bits and pieces of it with the animators posting on Twitter, but I want like a full like almost a feature-length documentary about like how this was made because I want to see all the process for it.
Yeah, totally.
Because that would be great.
Is there an art book coming out for this too?
I think I heard
there better be. I want all the behind the scenes stuff for this because it's good. It's beautiful.
I agree with the story not being like the most amazing thing in the world. A friend brought this up earlier. I do kind of agree that the villains of the movie feel a little tacked on to they don't super tie into the main big plot of the movie, but I don't think that's like an awful thing since the characters are so fun and well designed. You know, even if they don't have a huge even if they don't tie into it a whole lot, it's still more fun stuff you're getting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think that there really needed to be much of an antagonist because you already had enough. You already kind of had enough bit of a tiff between Klaus and
Jesper.
And Jesper, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, where they're running low on toys and Jesper or Klaus is like, I don't make toys anymore. And like that whole bit between them, that would have been enough conflict in the movie for me.
Exactly.
But I think having those antagonists, you know, obviously gives a little more tension to the film. And like we keep saying, like it really lets them show off a lot of good character animation. Which I again is like this movie's shining star point is just like every character, no matter how small, was just so intricately designed and animated. So much care went into making this movie, and it really shows.
Yeah.
See, I don't feel the same way with the whole villains thing. I think they were fine because, you still need somewhat of a conflict, and they're not like cartoonily evil where they're like, I fucking hate Christmas, I'm gonna ruin it. They weren't like a Grinch thing. They didn't need to die or anything. They were still humans, and I kind of dug it for that.
No, that's great. The villains are cool. They're good. I just think they don't super tie into the stuff with the main characters all that much. Like, kind of, they're there to cause conflict, but I feel like you probably could have just had like a conflict with like the dad showing up later. I guess then there would be no big climactic ending, but I feel like you could have made it a little tighter, but that's like the smallest of nitpicks, since I do think the villains were good, fun characters.
I feel like so go ahead.
She was like, "You really are Stinky Pete.
You really are Stinky Pete."
Because that's their voice actor, right? That's the same one. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm in the minority, but I think the villains tied in very well with the sort of, because I mean the thing of the story is like it starts off with like this whole Hatfield McCoy thing where like this town's divided in half, and this part of the town hates the other part of the town, and all the kids just start uniting the families together, and like that was why the main tops of like the different clans are just like, no, this is like it's tradition to hate each other, so that's a new
tradition.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
So that's why I feel like that worked out well enough.
I'm gonna fully admit, when we watched it last night, I was half asleep. I was very tired. I was dozing off at certain points, so maybe I need to watch it again. Like it still made a strong enough impression that it still stuck with me, and most of it still resonated despite it. But maybe I need to give it another viewing.
Oh yeah, well I mean this movie's good enough to warrant another viewing for sure.
I definitely want to rewatch this again around like when it actually gets to like a couple days before Christmas.
Yeah, I don't get.
This might be going into the Christmas rotation.
Totally, I don't get why they're releasing like all these Christmas movies in November. I feel like they should be releasing them in December. Like between this and like Frozen 2 and like.
Well, they've always done that. They always release Christmas movie in November. That way, it gives enough time in the box office leading up to Christmas, because I don't know, because I see people right now who the day after Halloween had their Christmas decorations up.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
I don't agree with it either, which I thought was really funny because here in Ohio we had like a huge snowstorm like a couple days into November, so there were people that had their Christmas decorations up, but their next door neighbor still had their Halloween decorations up, and it's all covered in snow. I think, people let Thanksgiving be a holiday first.
You know what, though, like in that regard, I'm kind of glad we're distancing ourselves a bit from Thanksgiving, like the traditional Thanksgiving, because it's like, maybe we can forget about some elements of that.
Maybe a little bit, but yeah.
But just extend Halloween to December 1st, and we'll be fine.
That's what Disney does. They extend Halloween to January.
Remember on Freeform, the 90 Days of Halloween?
Oh, God. That's crazy.
How crazy would it be if this same crew made a Halloween movie with this great animation?
Oh my God, I would love that.
I don't know if I want to see them like their next feature be another holiday movie, but I definitely am curious to see what they do next.
I told Dustin last night it would be neat if they did a sequel and it was like the origin of Krampus or something. They did
that would be rad.
Yeah. And I honestly, I was very surprised how like kind of touching this movie is.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Did you get choked up at the end? Because it was pretty rough for me.
Yeah.
I got a little choked up there when he's like, "Oh, I get to see my friend again," but I also kind of got choked up during Santa's backstory, where he's talking about his wife and how they never got to have kids, and then she just kind of died from getting sick.
She just kind of died.
Yeah, and I thought it was very interesting how they say Santa died. Well, not so much died. I guess he became like one with the Force or something. Because he wanders off into the light and just disappears. But he becomes a magical force.
So long.
I think anything with a time skip like that, where it was a time skip and he's got kids and all this stuff, I kind of got sad too. It was sad to see him with white hair and kind of middle aged.
I like when he had the mustache.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of weird though that like during they're going through like the 12 years until Klaus dies. Klaus like visibly keeps getting older, but I feel like Jesper doesn't really show any sign of aging until they get to the point with his kids. Then he has like the white streak in his hair and has like a little bit of eye sag, but other than that, he doesn't change his design at all.
He had the mustache and he had
the mustache. I don't think that's much of an age. That's not enough to show age over 10 years.
He had the white streaks in his hair.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like up until the point where he had his kids, that's where he had the white streak. But everything up to that point, he looked exactly the same. I also like that Jesper never changes clothes pretty much the entire movie.
He's a postman. Yeah, he has a uniform.
Not like even when he's putting his kids to bed, he's not like in any like kind of casual wear. He's still in his uniform.
He probably just came home from work.
I guess.
He takes his shit very seriously. Come on now.
I guess so. But yeah, this is a great movie, and if you have Netflix or honestly, this might be one of those instances where I say, like, if you don't have Netflix, one thing, where have you been? But second, like, this might be worth getting Netflix for.
Sign up for a free trial to watch it.
Or jack somebody else's Netflix, like everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't do that. We pay for our Netflix, but... Well, my wife pays for our Netflix, but... yeah, is there anything else you guys want to comment on this gorgeous movie?
Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Well, there you go. Well, all right. So thank you guys all for listening. I certainly hope that if you didn't watch Klaus prior to listening to this review, that you do go watch it. And if you can watch it in an official capacity, please do, because I think this movie really deserves the support, so that maybe they get an opportunity to make something else in the future. And yeah, it's just a very delightful Christmas movie that isn't like necessarily overtly Christmas, but you know, it's just a beautiful film. Go watch it. All right. Well, I thank you everybody out there for listening, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. And we will catch you up.
I didn't have a choice.
I mean, you didn't have to.
But I'm glad I was here too.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it regardless. And we'll catch everybody out there next week for something else. So take care.
See you then.
Bye.
Catch you on the flip side, dude, miser.
Thanks for listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. Join our Discord to chat with us, and subscribe to our Patreon for some cool bonuses. Links are in the description. We'll see you next time.